Man, my intro is feeling very bassy lately. I was editing that video earlier today and I was thinking, was always this bassy? But here, even in OBS, it seems so bassy. Hello everybody, welcome to another video. This is part 2 again of GW Reforged. I say part 2 again because it's really the third video we did. I renamed part 1 to part 0. And we're going to be continuing along today. We're going to look at the post-searing dungeon and the unlocking of a second hero, who I've been a bit evasive talking about in the commentary, but I guess I may as well just mention it's Althea, the ghost of Lady Althea. And then we'll hopefully start Melandum. I don't know how we feel about that, but that could be quite good. Now, it's also been kind of an interesting day. A few partners were under embargo, myself included, until 5 o'clock this afternoon, at which point we could talk about something, which was the fact that we had been sent some concept art in the post. So a little bit back, I basically got messaged, hey, is your address right? Because obviously my address had just changed. And I'm glad they checked that. And yeah, I got this thing. I was going to do a video where it was basically like a premiere, and it was question mark, question mark, question mark with the title, and question mark, question mark, question mark with the description, and like just a black thumbnail, and then I was going to update it. But I was under the very, very strong, and I've wanted to do that in the past before, I was under the very, very, very strong impression that we couldn't talk about it at all. So I was like, okay, I won't do that. I'll just wait until 5 and then I'll have the video go up. Only for other people to do shit like that anyway. So I was like, that's a bit annoying. And then when I was rendering, my PC started bugging, which was annoying. The new NVIDIA drivers weren't working with the version of Magix Vegas that I use. So rendering was broke. So I had to do a CPU render, which was really buggy and annoying. The video that I did today, right, is basically just a flat image. It's just a still image the whole time. There's really not much going on there. It should have rendered lightning quick. There were only a few sections where I was cropping or where I was, panning around or putting gameplay footage on, or the intro or the outro where there's actual animations. It was mostly just static stuff. Should have been rendered in seconds, should have been uploaded in seconds, but then I ended up doing it a scuffed way. And yeah, I just felt awful today. I felt really, really awful just watching everyone happily and keenly discussing the stuff, and I just felt completely screwed out of it. Like, even hours before 5, because I was like, well, why the fuck have I sat around waiting like some chump when other people haven't? But anyway, yeah, basically, we've been sent some cryptic concept art. We don't, at this point, know exactly what it's in reference to. In fact, should I just put it on screen? We'll do a little section here on it. This will be interesting for posterity, I suppose. Let me see. I can add all of them, actually. Hold on, yeah, that'll be funny. Oh, our 86 images are going to go in the bin here. There we go. All right, add. And then we go here. And then we add these. Here. So, so this is it, okay? And you'll notice there's not a nipple in the reflection. People were asking me in Discord if I was referencing this when I was talking about. Honestly, I wasn't. I mean, maybe somewhere subconsciously in my mind. But then, yeah, we've got this is the concept art. That's a picture I took with my Pixel 9a. You'll notice in the video I did, it actually looks a little bit better than this, because I bumped the contrast a bit and I bumped the saturation a bit, because it looks slightly washed out here in the digital reproduction, I suppose, whatever. And then at the bottom it's got this tagline. It says "Raise your banner," and very, very subtly behind that it's got a weird symbol. A symbol that looks a bit like, you know, the Lord Hundreds map of the Mists. It's kind of like an alchemy wheel, which you sort of get on like the Prophecies box art. I don't know. I proposed in the video that the icon behind the date might be like the icon for the game or the product or whatever it is. But I don't believe that already. I think I'm wrong about that because it's too complex. It needs to be something quite simple. A 2 that looks like a dragon. That works. A helmet. That works. That's for Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2. You know, the Arenanet logo, an arena, whatever. They're very simplistic. My channel logo is 3 potatoes. That's too complex, so I don't know. Some of you guys had an interesting point that where it says raise your banner, there's actually 3 little dots within it. Or within the date, there's 3 dots, so people were thinking 3. Anyway, why are we talking about this in Reforged? Well, because we don't actually know what this is in reference to. This could be a new chapter in Reforged. This could be a DLC for Reforged. I think the smallest scope possible thing I can imagine this would be a bonus mission pack 2. And I never mentioned that in my video. But I think that's an idea, right? We already know that 2 weeks are finding their feet with the tools, and probably they'll work their way up to whatever they can justify and whatever they can do. A bonus mission pack sequel. Now remember, the bonus mission pack can show you glimpses of the past. There's one where you're playing as Churiosa, for Christ's sake, hundreds of years ago, 200 years ago, I think that one is. So a bonus mission pack 2 that has us embody this hero, this fella, exploring ore around the cataclysm, that works. That is totally viable. I never mentioned it in my video. I kind of wish I did. And it's in scope. So in live chat at the moment, Starquake17 says, why would Guild Wars 2 Twitter mention it? They didn't mention the other game ever. That's not true. When Reforged stuff was happening, Guild Wars 2 stuff did tweet it. And, you know, I've seen online the sentiment, and I think it's fair, that it just makes sense. If you're a company, you have various media channels, it's a good idea to get all your socials to push a thing, especially if it's the same franchise, right? And it's clearly the same franchise. So I don't think it's too crazy. So people have been talking about... So a Discord opened today, an official Guild Wars Discord. They've all been unofficial Discords until now. It's very work in progress. And I think partners get like purple names so they can go peacocking around in there. You probably won't see me posting in there very much. I'm not being funny, but yeah, there's an interesting idea that they might add a new category for whatever this next thing is. So I don't know. I'm just saying it could be the big Guild Wars 3. I probably would put that 3rd on the list for me. I think some kind of Reforged initiative is slightly higher on the list for me than that. And then above even that, I think another product in the franchise. I'm really big on my idea that it's like a Battlegrounds style game. It's a world PvP game. It's world versus world of the game, basically. So just so that you guys know, a year ago, a list... See, I didn't know... This was a hard video to make. This was a really hard video to make because... First of all, everyone was in the dark and they were told not to talk to each other. Now, I don't know how many people broke that rule. Probably a lot of them did. I didn't, right? So I had no clue what anyone had received or what was going on. I kind of hoped... I hoped 2 things. I hoped that different partners were being sent concept art. And that people had different images, first of all. I hoped it wasn't everyone getting the same image. I thought it was going to be multiple people getting different images. And in the communication with it, there was kind of a suggestion that there was a hunt. There was like a clue that there was, you know, who will figure it out kind of thing. And I thought it'd be really cool if lots of different partners got different concept art. And then the community got to look over lots of people's work and put something together, right? But in the end, I think everyone got the same piece, right? Which kind of killed it a little bit. Where was I going with this? I had a point to make, and now it's gone. What did I read in chat just now? Why would they post on the Guild Wars 2 Twitter? I can't remember where I was going with this. Oh yeah, the other thing I hoped as well was that I thought... Oh yeah, I was saying it was a hard video to make. So I also thought that this was going to be it for the news, and like the partners would get to have like a monopoly, I guess, on the conversation for a day, and then Arenanet would start releasing their own stuff. Or at the end of the week, obviously there seems like there's going to be a big announcement this Friday on the 6th of June. But that didn't happen as well. So I was sitting there about to post my video. People have already been talking about the fucking thing for ages. video makers are naturally slower than streaming. And then on their official Twitter as well, what they did was Twitter, Blue Sky, one of those, there's an animated version of this that Arenanet themselves put up immediately. So I was sitting there thinking, my video is already out of date. What I should have done is not make the video yet. I shouldn't have made a video preemptively. I should have waited, seen what happened, because I was in the dark, seen what the other concept art pieces would be if they were, and, you know, do a full thing. Talk about the fact that they're going to be at the summer, what's it called? The Summer Games Fest? Is that right? SGF? Is that what it's called? You know, and show off the animated version of this. The animated version kind of reveals that there's more layers to this image. There's kind of a cool weird tower with a ball on it, and like the water sparkles and stuff. It's very much like a Guild Wars 2 character creation cinematic. And that's all pretty juicy stuff, and none of that's in my video. So I wish I'd waited. That's actually happened a lot, where it's like you can stress yourself out if you want trying to do the minute 1 release thing, but it's usually better to just wait a minute. So I don't know. Maybe I'll do another video on it later. But yeah, it was a tough one to make. All I really had to go on was this one picture. I am convinced that's all back there, by the way. I know I mentioned the Sea of City or the Masat Sea and stuff. I really think that's all. And I'm a big fan of my idea, which is that this is some kind of world PvP kind of game. World versus world, the game. Oh, right. Okay, I remember where I was. It was a hard video to make as well, for the stuff I just mentioned. But it was also a hard video to make because there have been leaks isn't really the right word. There have been things happening that I don't really know if the studio would want the partners to be talking about. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, this could be Guild Wars 3, but we also have 2 other product names from recent years. And I don't know to what degree I should talk about that in this video. I mean, they've sent me this, so I don't want to step on any toes in the video itself. So I decided not to. But let's just get into it, I guess, because everyone's talking about it. Last year on Steam, there appeared a listing for a game called Guild Wars Arena, and I've mentioned this in other videos, which then quietly, I guess, disappeared again. I'm not sure. And a few months ago, a trademark appeared for something called Guild Wars Reforged. Now, to my mind, here's an interesting thing with this franchise, right? You've got World versus World and PvP. And in Guild Wars 3, they tried to do all of them, all bundled into the same product, the same release. And they kind of, you know, they were always competing for developer attention. They were always, you know, dragging each other down, if you will. The systems and the time that they spent figuring out how World versus World prog works versus how PvP prog works. Except then, oh no, a year later, no, we're going to change how PvP prog works and we're going to unify it with PvE and all that kind of shit. Like, it's not ideal. But they love these things. They love the idea of World versus World. They loved alliance battles in GW1. They loved esports. They loved TPVP. So the question is, right, do they still? And if they want to take these ideas into the next generation, have they thrown in the towel with World PvP? Have they thrown in the towel with structured PvP? Hell, have they thrown in the towel with the idea of MMOs? Which, you know, the industry at large has. Or do they still believe in these things? Is that the right way to go? These are all fascinating conversations that the studio will have been having amongst themselves. Let's just assume for a second, and I'm not saying this is the right decision, but let's assume for a second they've said we do care about all of this. Let's say they're the true idealists. They never throw in the towel. They never let go. Right? Regardless of what you think their track record in-game over the past 14 years of Guild Wars 2 is, right? Regardless of that, okay? Let's say they're not going to throw in the towel. One way that I think makes sense for them to continue this franchise is to silo these ideas off into their own products. Have a sequel MMO that's Guild Wars 3, right? Somewhere down the line on Unreal Engine, whatever, I don't know. But also have like a dedicated game for TPVP, right? Have your own competitive game. It's all on its own, and it's not stepping on the toes of anything else. And the audience goes there for that specific expectation, and that is in some way cleaner in terms of development efforts, in terms of funding, in terms of marketing, in terms of, you know, sustaining and supporting the product, right? And it's a weird thing I'm proposing here, but I'm kind of suggesting they could juggle a lot of games. So, and if you were going to do that, what would you call it? What would Arenanet call their PvP game? Guild Wars Arena? Kind of fits, no? All right, and so then what if you're going to do like a dedicated world exploration, world PvP game that's set in the mists, but like big, I don't know, would Mistborn be that maybe? So are we looking at Mistborn is kind of what I'm thinking? Is this, and it's their first offering they're going to show is the World versus World branch of the Trinity, right? I don't know. Those were just some thoughts that went through my head as well, and I thought, I don't know whether I should talk about these. And then everyone put their videos up, and all the discussion online is all about all this shit anyway, so there you go. So that was another little thing that I was thinking of. Tech Striker says you'd love an old Guild Wars 1 start again. Yeah, I mean, you could split it even further, couldn't you? You could say, yeah, let's do a Guild Wars 3, which is the spiritual successor to Guild Wars 2, and let's do the Guild Wars, as someone proposed in my comments, and that's a spiritual successor to Guild Wars. I don't know whether I believe in that. Just from like a branding, franchising perspective, it's a bit complex to me. But yeah, and it's weird, isn't it? Because up until 6 months ago, Arenanet were patently only able to sustain one game. And all their other projects that were closed down behind closed doors kind of, you know, they never got anywhere. And they're a bit black horse, really. The black sheeps of the studio. And now here I am sitting here saying, oh, they could support this game, and this game, and this game, and this game, and this game. And it's a bit wild, isn't it? It's a bit silly, so I don't know. Paint2D says, having Born in the name evokes progression to me, so not PvP, IMO. And look, these words as well, they might not even mean anything. Arena might not stick with them. Nuff said in chat says, I feel like if it's not Guild Wars 3, they've overhyped. Like if this is just a mini X-Pack, then they've done a pump and dump. That's not what a pump and dump is. If it's some middling game, quite similar. I don't know, man. Be real for a second. All they have done is mail out some concept art. That's a pretty low bar. If you're overhyped and then later disappointed by that, I wouldn't put that on them. I would put that on you. I mean, let's be real here. They haven't gone on stage. They haven't put up a manifesto-like video where they've looked straight down the camera and said, we are releasing the greatest thing ever. Join us on June 5th. They haven't done anything like that, have they? They've just put out some pictures. Now, if people put fucking juvenile all caps titles in their videos and scream and shout into the mics and fake hype and you buy into it, then that's on you. Which is totally not what I'm doing. Right, does anyone want to join my party? Well, we're going to get Devonna. This is weird. Should I have not done a Reforged video today? I do want to do Reforged today. Totally agree. If it's not a new game, it's overhyped as fuck. We know they're working on a game. Why do this if it's not it? I mean, look, so I had someone in my comments say, I'm cynical, it's anything big. I bet it's just the next mini X-Pack. And it could be, but I responded in the YouTube comments and I said, well, look, they didn't do this for the other mini X-Packs. I never got sent anything physical. I've been sent physical stuff for Living World releases. I've not been sent physical stuff for mini X-Packs. And yet, here we go. Are these people just sending random invites? There you go, I'll invite this guy. I think the fact that they've sent something out is it probably... I'm tending to believe it is bigger than the next mini X-Pack. It is very weird, though, that they didn't announce the next... The biggest wriggle for me, and what I honestly think right now already, I think is a misstep. I don't know why they haven't announced the next mini X-Pack. I don't know what the story is there. The only thing I can imagine is they want to do like a Valve-style hardware release. You know, Valve with their hardware announcement just now? Where they said, here's the Steam machine, and here's the Steam controller, and here's the Steam frame. Whoa! You know, they want to do a triple announcement or something. But again, if they were going to do a triple announcement, I would have expected, like, when they're sending these concept art pieces out, send one person something about one thing, one person about another. I don't know. It's just very weird they haven't announced the next mini X-Pack. They could have done that months ago. Can I just remind you all that they announced that more mini X-Packs were coming at, like, the moment the predecessor came out for the other years. Seekers of the Obscure came out, and they pretty much immediately confirmed Janthir Wilds was going to be a thing. Janthir Wilds came out, and what was it, 2 weeks later? It was confirmed that there was going to be another one the next year. Visions of Eternity comes out. Silence. Why? Why the silence? It feels very... what that signals to me is there's probably not a mini X-Pack the next year. It might not be that they've cancelled them forever, but they just want us fully focusing on this. They want the entire conversation on this and nothing else for the next 12 months. I mean, release date is another matter, right? I mean, their philosophy for announcement and then release date has gone all over the place over the years. Do you guys think it'll be a long roll-in or a short roll-in? That's a whole other conversation. You know, they might say, hey, it's June 5th. Here's this thing. It's coming out in a week. Like, what do? They do 2 weeks, right? For living... No, they do 1 week, don't they? For Living World patches these days. Isn't it literally like 1 week? They're like, hey, here's a trailer. 7 days later, it comes out. Will they do that for this? I think a long roll-in is much smarter, but then I'm someone that really benefited from a long roll-in for the Guild Wars 2 press. According to some quick and dirty research, a slot at Summer Games Fest costs a minimum of £250,000 and £50,000 more for every 30 seconds of the trailer. Okay, yeah, I've seen people talking about that as well. I just want to be clear. They were at the Game Awards, like, what was it, 5 months ago? A little bit longer than that. The Game Awards in the closing of, hey, we have a Spud player. Holy shit. Come on in, baby. That's so cool. They paid a lot for a trailer spotlight at the Game Awards. I don't necessarily... And they had nothing. They had no announcement coming up there. I've seen people saying, well, look, there's a broader marketing push going on this year, like that spot that they did at the Game Awards, which is to prime everyone, remind people that your franchise exists before you do the big announcement. But I don't know. I also think maybe they're just spending the money on the right stuff now. Instead of like Quiznos collaborations or the Taxi Cab campaign, they're putting adverts in front of gamers. I mean that with regard to the Game Awards. I think they've been pretty explicit that there's something coming this Friday, right? Thoughts on Mistbound being a Hall of Monuments type bridge to Guild Wars 3? I think there probably will be a Hall of Monuments type bridge to Project X, but I don't think it's going to be called Mistbound necessarily, and I think it would be really weird to trademark that as its own thing. Like, the Hall of Monuments wasn't trademarked as its own thing, was it? I don't think so. They had a trailer at the Summer Game Fest last year too. There you go. And they never had a big announcement there. It was introduced by name from one of the hosts. It was a pretty generic core stuff at the time, though. Pretty clearly they spent time with the one. Yeah, it was pretty generic core stuff. It was really weird. I love the Game Awards, by the way. I really do. I genuinely enjoy that show, and I enjoy watching that. And it was such a weird moment for me. I was like, holy shit, there's a Guild Wars trailer here. They should bring the cab marking back. Well, do I have a treat for you? Special unseen footage. Hold on, guys. I was going to wait until a little bit later in the stream to show this off. Let's see. Bear with me, because I'm kind of jumping the gun here. But since we're talking about special new unseen footage, resources, games, Guild Wars, Season 1. Wait, no, ignore that last word. I didn't say that last word. It's not Season 1, it's new. Check this out. Oh shit, what is this? Passengers had no clue? From the outside, the cabs look normal? South Sun Cove? But from the inside... Whoa! The Great MMO Migration!
Hi! What is this here? This is my cab! Alright, cab.
Nice cab you have set up.
Thank you.
This is the most interesting cab I've ever been in.
Interesting.
That's crazy. What's all this for then?
What's this?
Are you free?
I
That's
am.
pretty fancy.
Do you need a ride?
Yeah, we do actually.
Come on in. So where?
There you go. That's a little 1 minute preview for you guys. Believe it or not, that's 4 minutes long. There's plenty more where that came from. Now, if you're interested, you can check that out online. I feel bad clowning on that all the time because I always think about the fact that clearly a lot of work went into it. I was so proud of it and stuff. Yeah, people can't even make 1 fucking minute of that. Not even 1 minute. I think that the really awkward good moments, the really cringy bits are later on in it. Where people are clearly like, I don't understand what's going on. Check it out, honestly. If you like hit shows like Peep Show, you enjoy a bit of cringe humor. Yeah, no, I don't have anything else. I have this for you. So yeah, what do we think? I'm going to throw a poll up. I'm curious, guys. Engage with this poll, if you will. What is it? I want you to imagine this poll question in the way that that girl speaks in Pulp Fiction. When they open the briefcase in the cafe. Let's see. Is it Mini X-Back 4? Is it Reforged update? Is it Reforged? Okay, fuck it. I'm just gonna say bonus mission pack 2. Is it other Reforged? Is it GW3 Project X? Start poll. Go. What do you guys think it is? There's a poll in the YouTube. Sorry to the people watching. Do you know what would be nice? Is if when I did a poll in the live chat, it was also available for regular YouTube commenters. I don't see why you can't have a poll just there on the VOD that people can vote in when they come and visit. That would be cool as fuck, wouldn't it? Get on that, YouTube. Get on that. Right, okay, before this becomes unbearable to people who are watching in the future and already know the answers to all this stuff. Let's have a look. Hey, Einolf, thanks so much for the 10 gift memberships. Congrats to anybody who got those. That's really cool of you, dude. Thank you. Okay, so we finished the dungeon in the last part. Devonna says, thanks to you, Maz Scourgeheart is no more. Ascalon remains safe for the time being. We certainly have not seen the last of the Char, but we have won another moment of peace. I would gladly lay down my life if it meant one more day in this beautiful kingdom of ours. Hold on, that line, I would gladly lay down my life if it meant... Is that a reference to like a cinematic somewhere? Wait, or is that a Faramir quote? I was reading that Faramir quote about his love, not for battle, but for what it defends. What is that quote? Where is it? I do not love the bright sword for its sharpness, nor the arrow for his swiftness, nor the warrior for his glory. I love only that which they defend. There you go. Beautiful, Devonna. That's incredible. Did you write that, really? Listen, there's one more thing I would ask of you. Oh, there's another quest. We have battled side by side and achieved great victories for Ascalon. Let us form an alliance. Let us wield our arms against any and all threats to our beloved kingdom. Wherever, whenever Ascalon's enemies shall appear, we shall strike together as one magnificent crushing blow. What say you? So look at this. Devonna finally becomes a hero. Devonna and her friend group have been like the OG... These guys should be heroes thing for years. Even when Nightfall came out, people were kind of head scratching and thinking, shouldn't these guys be heroes? And I wonder why the decision was initially made not to do these guys as heroes back then. They were integrated into the campaign as henchmen. Was it just because they wanted all of the heroes to be Nightfall related at the time, and then a couple of bonuses for people who owned factions and prophecies, i.e. Zemnai and Elias. Elias, is it Zemnai or... Yeah, it was Zemnai, right? It wasn't Miku. Miku was Winds of Change. So, but now she joins. This does kind of break the flow a little bit. It's kind of weird and thrilling. If you're really, really paying attention to this game and this story, when you originally... can you guys barely fucking hear the game? Oh, no, you can hear it just fine. And you're, like, tracking all the characters very well. it is quite... Devonna and co are in a lot of primary quests as you play through the story, and they only become full-blown henchmen right at the end, and that's kind of satisfying to actually be able to recruit these guys fully at the very end. That satisfaction kind of goes away if Devon is being in your party as a full-blown hero the entire time, but whatever. This is really profound, guys. It's a hero in pre... It's a hero in Prophecies through the natural course of playing Prophecies. It's a hero without any hero tutorial attached to it as well. But it's kind of hidden off in the side. The honor-bound, fiercely loyal Devonna hails from Ascalon, following in the footsteps of her father, an infamous warrior. She believes that a tactical approach to battle is just as important as how hard one can swing a hammer. Yeah, by the way, there's Mordecai reference here, right? Are Arenanet thinking about Mordecai because they wanted to do Mordecai in Utopia and never got around to it, and now they've got a project on their hands that's going to be in ore during the Guild Wars where Mordecai died? Is that Mordecai in that picture? Huh? I just thought of that right here, right now. What do you think? Are we looking at Mordecai? Oh, by the way, also, I was surprised to see no one was coming at me for this. There was a big thing that I never even broached in my video, a big topic. What do you guys think that that might have been? That I thought I'd get chewed out for. There is another point of analysis. There is another arena of discussion. I'll give you a hint, shall I? That's a hint. Do you want another hint? The guy. The armor. The fashion. Is that fashion that I should already know? Have we seen that? I'm sure there's a lot to talk about there. It's a guy in gilded, plated armor with a glowing sword. It looks a bit like, oh shit, what's it called? Infinite... Is it called Infinite Light? What was the OG shiny badass sword from the Mystic Forge? But yeah, is that armor we can already wear? Is that armor that we would already associate with one of the nations? I don't think so. I don't know. Could it be King Doric, says Cool Boy Jake. Yeah, that's a really good, fun idea as well. That is a really fun... And I did think of that. I forgot to put in the video. Oh, wow. 76% of you guys think it's Guild Wars 3/Project X. Yeah, I have to say, the bonus mission pack thing, if they're in the middle of porting to mobile, so the idea that they've also got a big content drop that they're ready to do press for and shit, I don't know. The shiny is likely just from the sun. Yeah, it could just be creative. And I actually like, by the way, I don't know, the other thing that came to my mind was this trailer. Talking about shiny weapons. Okay, check this one out. Okay, no, I'm joking. Hold on. Hold on, I do really have a point to make, though. Assuming I can find it. Where are we looking? Season 4, probably? Damn, no, it's not there. Oh, it is there. Oh my god, I'm a genius. Alright, this has since been unlisted, but let's talk about this. It seems somewhat appropriate. Right, so this was a promo piece that Arenanet released sometime after Season 4. Now, let's have a little bit of tact for a second here. Season 4 was very weird. It was it was building in such a way that it kind of felt like Guild Wars 2 was coming to an end. It was a real ending of sorts. There was no announcement. And Season 4 just ended, and then instead of a big product reveal that we all could have been excited and thrilled about, there was really sad news. The studio was downsizing by 1/3. A bunch of devs had been told, look, there's no funding, the thing we were going to make has fallen through. If you want to step down, please do, because it saves us having to actively give other people the boot. And we lost a lot of talent, a lot of great guys. It was a sad time, right? So clearly during season 4, they were working on something that didn't go anywhere, right? And then they scrambled to do the Icebrood Saga, and the rest is history, right? We don't have to go into all that. But what's quite curious is a few months after this, maybe a couple of months into the Icebrood Saga, I think, or somewhere in the gap, this trailer came out. And this was just a random thing. It was just a join a Legion 11 million strong. It was not for a new game. It was just to advertise Guild Wars 2. But the question is, why they've clearly contracted a studio to produce this. And it's clearly an advertisement for something. Now, let's look at what the subject material, right? A Mordrum Wyvern? Well, that's weird. Mordrum don't really have anything to do with the storylines we were dealing with. And who's that in the foreground? Who's the one prominent character we see here that we recognize? The Asura design is so interesting in that as well. Who is this, guys? I'm pretty sure that's Zephyra, isn't it? Wasn't the idea that this was Zephyra? And Zephyra is a weird character that got introduced and had a really rich backstory, was really interesting, and then they just fucking abandoned. And it really kind of feels like they were setting something up. Zephyra was going to be an iconic for this other game. The other game fell apart. The studio had a huge layoff. They had nothing. And they were like, well, fuck, we got this trailer. Instead of making this trailer about this other game, what we're going to instead have it for is just a generic piece for Guild Wars 2. They posted it on the YouTube channel for a little while. All anyone could talk about was how it felt like a weird trailer for something else. And nowadays is unlisted. They're actually not proud of this trailer. You cannot find it online unless you have the direct link to it or you downloaded it. And so the aesthetic here was kind of ugly, right? Like, in terms of the weapons, I feel I'm kind of a bit of a boomer, a Guild Wars 1 boomer. You know, we're looking at lovely, lovely, beautiful Guild Wars 1 here. And all the weapons were not that shiny. But then you look at it, basically people said this was like shiny, jingling keys in front of children, mobile phone game, is what people thought it was. And obviously it never saw the light of day. Arenanet weren't confident in or whatever. And this trailer, by the way, this is the closest we've ever come to an actual announcement from them, from something. This is the closest we've ever come. There have been lots of anecdotes and stories and leaks and things over the years about this project and this concept art and that, but they were never like sanctioned by the studio. They were never officially announced or discussed. It was always people worming the information out and it being discussed through back channels, right? So someone said in Discord earlier, they said, oh, Arenanet have got a bad track record for other projects, so I don't know whether to trust this. And I had to respond. I said, they don't have a bad track record. They don't. All these other stories we have about cancelled stuff, they never got far enough to get to a marketing phase. There was never press for them. Anything that Arenanet have done press for has been a product that they've released and has not gone away. You can still play Guild Wars 1. You can still play every functioning facet of Guild Wars 2. They don't have a bad track record. They have a bad... they give us this new concept art, right? You can't look at that and cynically say, oh, this isn't going to see the light of day. No! Everything they've talked about, they've released. With the exception, I said in the original comment, of Polymorph and Bar Brawl. As far as I can make out, those are the two features that have been discussed in marketing that never ended up releasing. Polymorph, Bar Brawl. The closest we ever got, beyond this concept art that they've just released, is this. But only because they repurposed it. But this was clearly some kind of mobile game thing, right? Anyway, I never really liked the ultra shiny weapons. Instantly, I hate this phrase, by the way. I hate this with all of my being. I fucking hate this phrase, but I'm going to say it. I got the ick. Ooh, I got the ick. Don't you just hate it when a guy gives you the ick? Yeah, I got the ick from the fucking glowy weapons here. But over here, I don't know. That feels totally the epic fantasy, like I say, Kekai. By the way, I don't really know how to pronounce his second name. Katakai? I don't know. I like this sword. I like and I like the armor that guy's in. That's totally up my alley. And I know that there's a bias of people watching this Reforged series right now who would have to agree, right? This is pretty decent. I just gave you the ick. Yeah, I don't know why. I hate that phrase. I think it's because there's nothing objective about it. But people talk about it like it's a science and like it's objective. And it frustrates me no end. And there's forever endless Ask Reddit questions of sad, insulated, zero social skills teenage boys desperate for information from girls, asking them, "Oh, how do I not give you the ick?" And then they'll come out with a whiteboard as though it's like a science. It's like, yeah, don't be creepy, man. Focus on your hygiene. It's not hard. Talk about coins online. That's how you give people the ick. It's a shame GWP seems... GWP? What the fuck? GW3 seems to be in Unreal Engine. I don't think it's a shame at all. I quite like Unreal. I think it's more about how the devs implement it and handle it than anything else. If you have horror stories and bad performance, I blame that on the devs, not the engine. Obviously, it isn't totally suited for big, broad RPGs. But hey. Right, okay, so we got Devonna. What do we want to talk about with Devonna here? Yeah, we can run around with her in pre. Sorry, I have to leave this party now, don't I? So I would have to level her from level 5 all the way up. Which I'm not going to do. But what's curious is because she's a full-fledged hero, she has every skill in the game. She acts like a hero, right? So as long as you've got them unlocked... Now, if you'd only ever played pre and this was your first character going through, she wouldn't have much. But for me, I can make her a warrior writ. And I can load on... She doesn't have the attribute points here. But, you know, we can whack up her communing and her channeling, right? And we can put Bloodsong on. I'm not going to actually mess with her build too much. She starts as a hammer warrior. What does her gear start with? Let's have a look here. Devonna's Foe Hammer. It is a unique item. 20% damage. 13 to 20 on a Rec 3. Devonna's Glove. Devonna's Armor. And 2 weeks had to figure all of this out. They had to figure out her pip regeneration. And I think they had made a few mistakes along the way. Oh, you can pin hero skills. That's pretty good as well. If you're going to micro like your Soul Twister pre-fight. But she's really strong, so I hear. I think there's a few different like branches of what you can do with her. You can put her onto... SOS Writ is like the big one, isn't it? And it's just strange. You can see Ritualist Spirits in pre. Or any skill animation you like in pre. Which kind of kills the vibe a bit. But, you know, it's your choice if you want her. If I play with another player and they also have Devonna, what's she called? Is she called just Hero Warrior or something? Warrior Hero? John Sellers with the memberships. Thank you so much, dude. You want to give people the ick? Change your intro to the taxi. Arenanet almost hit the jackpot. Terry Genshin Impact. It's a weird thing, isn't it? Where you look at gachas, right, and they earn so much money. So do you know what they can do? They can afford to put out regular high-quality story. But it's a genre predicated on gambling and stuff, and people love... I hate this phrase as well, but people love talking about that in a predatory way. Predatory! Predatory! I made myself laugh the other day because I was trying to brainstorm. I won't get into why. I was trying to brainstorm names for different colognes. And I was thinking, yeah, for like men, for aftershave, they're named things like Hunter and stuff. And I thought, you know, there's probably one called Predator. And then I thought, no, there's no way they would sell one. There's no way that they would sell an aftershave. Predator for men. Smell like a predator. Yeah, I don't know. I can kind of see them... I think they have to change the business model. I welcome that with open arms. I do not see the problem with a Fallout First style subscription or a China VIP style subscription. I had a comment, though, from LLPTV the other day that honestly really annoyed me. It really frustrated me. Let me find it. Fuck, how do I find his comment? I've had too many comments since. If I just search for VIP, will it come up? No, that's... If I just search his username, will it come up? They kind of killed that. Yeah, I can't search his username. What if I just type the word sub fee? Yeah, I found it. Okay, yesterday, LLPTV. I could not disagree with this more. Let's get this on screen for you all. Add files, screenshots. LLPTV, I think even suggesting that a franchise that once prided themselves on no sub fee would get away with it. It is insane. It is a fucking suicide on the Western market. Maybe not in China or whatever, but it is a really fucking high-risk move, and people would never forget that shit either. That's 2 weeks and Arenanet losing their credibility at the same time. They cannot afford that kind of risk. Only Blizzard would be stupid and rich enough to try that. It's not an either-or. Arenanet has chosen not to be a one-game pony, and has tried to move away from Guild Wars for a while now, and that comes with obvious drawbacks. Right, I don't really know what they mean in the second sentence there, but let's discuss this, right? Do you guys agree with this? First of all, I'm going to be honest, LLPTV annoyed me here. One reason is because I hate this job. I feel like sometimes I say things in videos and then I get comments about it and people clearly haven't listened. I didn't say that the Project X, right, or Guild Wars 3 or whatever, I didn't say it would be a dedicated sub-fee game. I said it would be a Fallout First. I said it could be a Fallout First or VIP style optional sub experience. I advocated for an optional sub, and it feels like LLPTV didn't listen to the fact I was talking about it as an optional sub, but the LLPTV acted like we're talking about a pure sub. If we're talking about a pure subscription, if we're saying, yeah, here's our new game, it's only a subscription fee, there I think you have a point, but that's not what I said, okay? So that kind of annoyed me a little bit because it feels like people don't listen and then they drop long comments. That's not what I said. I said an optional sub. So let's discuss. Let's keep it about what I platformed, an optional thing. And let's assume that he did listen. Let's assume he knows I meant an optional sub and he still means what he said. Even suggesting an optional sub for a franchise that once prided themselves on no sub fee would get away with it, it's insane. It's a fucking suicide on the Western market. Maybe not in China or whatever, where they do VIP, but it's a really fucking high-risk move, and people would never forget that shit either. That's 2 weeks in Arenanet losing their credibility at the same time. They cannot afford that kind of risk. Only Blizzard would be stupid and rich enough to try that. Do you guys agree? LLPTV might even be there in chat, and I haven't seen, because I'm terrible at keeping up and reading chat, and I'm really sorry about that. I just look at it as... I look at where the industry is, guys, right? I look at microtransactions on mobile games. I look at gachas. I look at optional subs. Those are the big three. Those are how you fund a live service studio. I look at paid for season passes. This is how you run a thing. This is how the game industry works. And so I get annoyed by LLPTV. I get annoyed by this sentiment because I feel like Guild Wars is saddled with these people, these Guild Wars oneers. It's not 2006 anymore. You gotta move on, man. It's not how it works. They're not churning boxes at you every year. And if they are, they're maybe not hitting the bar of quality that we want, i.e. mini X-Packs. So look, I just, get into the ring with me, right? I'm speaking quite forcefully here. Feel free to defend yourselves. Do you agree with LLPTV? Let me hear it in chat. Because maybe you're right. I'm not saying I'm wrong. But I don't know. I think we have to fucking relinquish control a little bit, all right? And look, I've changed. I used to be big. Like, let's look at something here. Let's defend LLPTV just for a second. Just for a second here. Because he deserves a defense. And it's related to our current Let's Play. And this is a Let's Play. Shit, where did I save it though? Right, let's defend LLPTV. Ready? Remember how it all started. Experience it like never before. Steam Deck verified. New low price. Support for controllers and high DPI displays. No monthly subscription. I mean, they're clearly still proud of that. There it is. An official marketing communique from the studio, only a few months old, where they are... What are they saying to you when they put that in big block letters right there? It's true, but what are they saying? They're reminding you this is what we care about. They're saying it's okay to care about this. It's okay to believe in ownership, or well, you don't really own your account, right? Let's not get into that, I suppose. But it's clearly... They're still telegraphing to people this is what we're all about, right? So is LLPTV crazy to say this? I mean, Christ, with their Reforged trailer, it's still there front and center. I don't know, man. To finish the point I was going to make a second ago, I used to be big on the no monthly subscription fee. When I look at that Reforged trailer with no monthly fee, it here, I'm going to be a bit self-aggrandizing here. I'm going to be a bit arrogant, right? It reminds me of me, right, with that big fucking trailer competition for Guild Wars 2, and I did the Guild Wars 2 in 60 seconds video. And what did I put as the 61st reason? I did a reason a second. And what did I do? As number 61, I said no sub fee. That's who I was. That's where I was. I really believed in the no sub fee thing. You know, I cancelled my RuneScape membership and I moved over to Guild Wars. And I believed all their arguments and all their discussions about how you don't need to charge a sub fee. And that's who I was in 2011. Do you know who I am now? I'm a coin collector. Who am I now? I'm a guy that has paid a sub for other MMOs. And do you know what? I've seen that the grass is pretty fucking green. I've played other live service games that clearly have a lot of money to attract a lot of talent and to put a lot of really good releases into their products. Yeah, I'm a guy that's done a few LPs of fucking FF14 and I've paid a sub for the privilege. And do you know what I've seen on that from that? I've seen something that can be really well funded and well developed. And I'm a guy that's lived through 14 years of Guild Wars 2 wishing that everything they released was bigger and better. Why is Heart of Thorns so small? Why is POF so small? Why is End of Dragon so small? Why is the Icewood Saga so small? Why are the mini X-Packs small? Why is there a content drought here? Why is there a content drought here? And that's either because they don't do a sub fee, or it's because they spend a bunch of money pursuing other products, or a bit of both, right? And it's kind of a complicated thing to talk about, but I'm just saying I've changed. I do see a bit of quality for products that can afford to pay their devs. I'm someone that's seen the catty backdoor comments about Glassdoor over the years. I've seen the layoffs. I don't like that shit. I've seen what no sub fee means for the microtransaction store in Guild Wars 2. Unfortunately, there is no gem store in Guild Wars 1 for me to show you. Wait, what am I saying? Unfortunately? No, fantastically, there's not one in Guild Wars 1 for me to show. I've seen all the fucking plush mounts and armor sets and outfits that come out looking better than legendaries and weapons that come out looking better than legendaries and thinking, oh man, this sucks. And I've seen other games that offer sub fees that don't do that. I have changed. I will loosen the grip a little. I would be perfectly fine with an optional fucking sub. I just would. And this idea that, oh, well, I bought into this franchise in 2006 and they said there wasn't going to be one and it's in their DNA. I don't like that. That annoys me. It feels like an old guard refusing to open their eyes and sinking the ship, cutting off their nose to spite their face and torpedoing the whole thing as it goes down. That's how it feels. On the other hand, you can say, no, WP, you're a wanker. You're giving up. None of these games should be sub fees. The only reason you've been treated badly, or they haven't done... Well, none of us have been treated badly, by the way. Let's not use that terminology. The only reason that the content hasn't been as good as it should have been is because they fucked around with projects that never released. And that's their management, and that's their devs, and there's their internal ineptitude. And you don't get to... You know, you're bending over to accept a sub fee. You're bending over because of their own fuck-ups. No, we should hold them to task strictly based on their mismanagement of their other projects over the years. They can get by without a sub fee. They make more than enough with microtransactions, right? Those are the two arguments. I think the thing that most convinces me though, is it's not 2006, it's 2026. And look at every other game across the fucking industry. And yeah, oh, we're the last bastion. We're the guys that don't have a sub fee. Yeah, we're so proud of that. You know, the only people who are idealistically sitting there caring about that, they're a rapidly dwindling population of increasingly middle-aged losers that are doing normie things like getting families and no longer video gaming. And it's shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And do you know what? People don't talk about Guild Wars among the big MMOs anymore. They just don't. Maybe they would if we got the money rolling. I just view Project X as a way to open the doors a little bit. And you won't see me raging about it if some kind of sub-fee initiative is a part of it. Or Season Pass initiative is somewhat a part of it. But then we circle back to Arenanet, right? And it's like, I feel like their big problem is they've always listened to the bitching far too closely. I have a friend who made the point to me last night in Discord. He said, you know, and I've made this point many times over the years, sometimes the community rages and pisses and moans and bitches, and it doesn't matter. You just ignore them. They're still going to buy it. The boycott isn't real. The anger isn't real. They'll just get on their high horses because really they don't have any other hobbies like coin collecting. How many times can I shoehorn that in? So what do you think? All right, I'm gonna look at chat. There you go. That's my overall view of the industry and where it is. And I'll give you another take, right? I think another take that a lot of people won't give. Kind of a disrespectful take. A take you probably won't see from partners as they increasingly become friends with the devs and they start moderating themselves and stuff. But here's another take, right? Not just talking about video gaming, right? Let's talk about the Peter principle. It's not really the Peter principle. How do I articulate this? I don't believe that just because you've been with a company... again, we don't have to be talking about Arenanet here. We can talk about any... You know... We can talk about, you know, when I used to work in IT solutions in a big fucking office, right? Just because you've been with a company for a long time, it doesn't mean you're great at the job. It doesn't mean you're passionate about the job. Passion, and especially when you're an artist and you're in an art-adjacent industry like video game development, your passion can ebb and flow, right? You can be really, really excited about something, but you get shouted down in a group meeting over and over and over again, and you just sort of don't care anymore and you check out, right? So you were the guy 5 years ago. You're not the guy anymore. But at the end of the day, you've been with the studio or the business, the company for a long time, and you've been collecting your little wage increases year on, year off, right? And I do believe that there is a thing where old guard studios, and I think this could be happening all over the games industry, right, end up filled up with people that cost a lot of money, but aren't necessarily in the headspace anymore. The hungry, greedy, I'm going to make art, I'm going to really break the wheel, I'm going to really do something incredible headspace. They think slower, they act slower, they're in a very different place in their life, but they're very expensive because, that's been their career for years and years and years and years. I don't necessarily believe that, I believe in small studios. I believe in the passion of indies. I believe that that's where you see the greatest video game work. And I think that that's why we see shit like Bethesda struggling to get their next Elder Scrolls game out. I see that's why we see Bungie struggling with Destiny. And maybe that's why we see Arenanet struggling with Guild Wars over the years, right? I think these are very real phenomena, right? And so what I'm giving you again, just to try and be unbiased and just to try and defend LLP TV, I think that's a valid thing to say. It's a valid thing to say, no, fuck sub fees. Fuck VIP passes, fuck season passes, fuck FOMO. They just need to get the right devs in the right positions. And the fact is that they're an aging company, and the enthusiastic kids that made Guild Wars 1 are not there anymore. They might be there in name and they might be there in person, but they're not there in practice, right? In how they think and how capable they are of creating great art and creating a great sequel, right? But they cost a lot of money. And it's very easy if you're in LLP TV's camp to say, no, we don't need this stuff. We need cheaper, fresher, newer minds to get in there and make a great product. So no, don't tell me, WP, that there should be a sub fee. Fuck you. Don't bend over. Right, I get it. I get that argument as well. That's another argument for LLP TV there. So I don't know. Overall, I'm just saying I would accept the sub. Despite all of this, thinking about all of this, I think I would accept one happily. I want them to have a bit of fucking money. I don't think any of them are greedy. I don't think any of them are paid that well. I don't know. Then we also, how far do we want to get into this? Do you want to talk about the really, really high wages over there and the high cost of living and blah, 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 blah. Sorry, I'm reading chat here. This is not Let's Play. Fuck. Okay, look. We got Devonna. Exciting. What do you guys want to see? Does anyone really want to see me grind Devonna's level up in pre-searing? Let's at least go on a walk for a second. We will be back here very soon when we begin our Milan Doom character. I might rebrand this video. This really isn't it, is it? It's not really a reforged. This is like a half episode. So let's close down this poll. I'm going to poll you guys again now. Yeah, everyone believes that the concept art is Guild Wars 3/Project X. Everyone. Let's do it again here. Typing away, typing away, typing away. By the way, I'm putting a full sub fee as an option here, but if you pick that, you're unhinged. Right, okay, there's your options, okay? There's the poll. Let's see your votes, everyone. I hope the people watching the VOD can see how people voted. So, I've said change the monetization. You could say no subscription fee. You can say an optional sub, like VIP in China or Fallout First. For those of you guys that don't know, again, I mentioned this. Fallout 76 has a thing, an optional sub you can pay, and it basically would be... It like, gives you gems, right? It's the equivalent of giving you gems. And it's like a huge money spinner. Fallout 76 is one of the most profitable games on all of Steam. And that is a game that had a rocky release, doesn't really even do that much, but makes bank. I've also said full sub fee, and if anyone votes for that, you're unhinged. I really don't believe Arenanet will ever do that. I am very much with LLPTV. I cannot imagine them doing that. And finally, I say status quo. And in parentheses with the status quo, I've written 3 MTX and 1 money. Now, what that is that's a genius Simpsons reference, okay? This is a reference. This is quite a high-level Shakespearean, you might say. Little bit of writing I've done here. Where there's a joke in The Simpsons where Homer Simpson says, "Oh, I've got 3 kids and no money. I wish I had 3 money and no kids." All right. And what I've done is I've cleverly tweaked that, you see? For those that don't understand, I've cleverly tweaked that. And so I've described the current status quo in Guild Wars 2 at the moment as 3 MTX and 1 money. We have a lot of ugly MTX going in that game, let's be real, right? And it tramples on the reward systems and stuff. And it doesn't even feel like they get the money they need from it. That's what I would describe the MTX as. I mean, maybe. So there you go. So there's your votes. So get your votes in. So it looks like I've made quite a convincing argument.
You made quite a convincing argument.
Optional sub apparently is winning with 57%, 51% of the vote. Secondly, we've got no sub on 24%. The purists, the diehards, the LLPTVs. 17% unhinged people saying full sub fee. Listen, if you just voted for full sub fee, how are you going to sell that? How are you going to sell that to the player base? Go on, let's hear it. Come on. Let's see how you do that. I cannot imagine a world in which Arenanet say, "Here's this cool thing. Here's some concept art. Join us at the Summer Games Fest on the 5th. But by the way, it's a full sub fee game." How are you going to sell that? They can't do that. LLPTV is right. Raise your banner if you have the money for a sub fee. I don't see it. I mean, frankly, what live service games that aren't Blizzard? What sub fee games are there out there? I only know of 14 and WoW. Black Desert doesn't have a sub fee, does it? What are some new MMOs that came out recently? New World never had a sub fee. How can Arenanet have a sub fee? You're crazy. Anyone who voted that is mental. All right, good. It dropped to 16%. Very interestingly, only 8% are saying status quo. So we're all basically in agreement then that the status quo is not good enough. I mean, is that just the way I've couched this conversation? Maybe it is good enough. I don't know. Look at it. They've just shown that they can get 2 weeks in for Guild Wars 1 updates. Look at this. Look right now. I'm playing Guild Wars 1. Devonna is desperately trying to hit things before I pew-pew them. She can't get any adrenaline. This is a great demonstration right here as to why melee heroes are so bad in this game. And this is with me on a ranger where there's a lot more delay with this bow than there would be if I was casting spells. What is the difference between no sub and status quo? Okay, yeah, I've written a bad poll there. My thinking with no sub is like no monetization almost at all, except a box. Because, guys, for those purists out there, the Guild Wars 1ers out there, we've already slid away from the actual original idea. The original idea is to sell a box, and that's it. No microtransactions, no bank tab sales, no outfits, which they've done here, no mercenaries. No, I think the game even released without character slots, didn't it? There was nothing. It was the boxes. And there, you can find interviews online. Arenanet are there. Many of the same voices that you will hear doing this announcement in a couple of days. You can hear them talking about Guild Wars 1 and about how, you know, they only have to do the box. The thing is, all those conversations back then were in light of, like, basically, the box can pay for the server costs. That was the point. There was this big lie that a lot of the other MMOs were selling you, suggesting that they needed a sub fee for the servers. And Arenanet had realized, no, we can write our servers in a better way. We can set up the infrastructure in such a way that we don't have to do that. It's a con. And that's basically what they were saying to you. Sub fees are a con in terms of maintaining servers. But, you know, things were still primordial at that time. A lot of those arguments don't really apply when we're talking about creating an expansion every year. And actually continuing with the stuff. So yeah, sorry, my poll was supposed to be no sub is true purist. Versus status quo, which is what Guild Wars 2's been doing. Arenanet devs were also shit hot at networking, says Tokavian. What do you mean by that? Ah, Mixed Chimmer with $5. Thanks, man. He says, nah, being a heavy hitter in the MMO space needs funding. I want the franchise to be a heavy hitter, and Guild Wars 2 was criminally under-monetized for a while. Yeah, I can agree with that sentiment. But do you know what if I'm going to be devil's advocate over and over and over again, do you know what my response to that is, honestly? Guild Wars 2 was on top of the MMO world when it released. It was. Some people had got a little bit confused about the idea of dynamic events, and they were disappointed by that. And the personal story didn't really deliver what it was going to, right? And there were problems with the Trinity, and there were problems with the dungeon design. Those were kind of the big 4 areas that they fucked up. But despite all of that, right, it was a huge, huge release. When it came out, right, don't make me go get that Google Trends chart, right? It fucking was the WoW killer. It was, some of you guys who are like newer to the scene aren't really going to believe me, and you're going to think that what I'm saying is interchangeable with all the other MMOs that have come and gone. But no, I'm telling you, this game was there. They had it. They had it through the animations, they had it through the dodge roll, they had it through the build craft, they had it through the UI design, they had it through the new principles for the open world. They nailed it, right? Vast tracks of their manifesto, they did actually land, and they had the biggest MMO release. They really were the WoW killer, right? Now, why didn't that continue? Why have we slipped and slipped and slipped? Was it because they didn't have a sub fee? Or was it because they kept funneling the money into other projects behind the scenes and the talent? Why wasn't Heart of Thorns bigger? Why wasn't Heart of Thorns sooner? Why wasn't Season 1 bigger? Why wasn't Season 1 sooner? Season 1 especially is the real black mark, right? If you really want to get into fucking analysis of the handling of this franchise over the years, Season 1 is the real... Oh, shit, they really, really dropped the ball here. Why did it take them like 7 months to do anything with the story? And so few system changes and so few updates? It was because they put the money elsewhere. They moved their talent and their immediately onto stuff behind closed doors. And because they never had a big game plan for after release. You know, people talk about how hard it is to release a new MMO nowadays, right? Because the audience expects that new MMO to release with everything that the pre-existing MMOs have. They expect it to have all the features and all the content that WoW already has, that Guild Wars 1 already has, that Guild Wars 2 already has. And it's just like this epic bar that you can't hit all on its own. That gets talked to death. But do you know what also really fucking matters if you're going to make a new MMO? And people don't talk about this. Oh, I think Devonner actually got a hit there. Having a game plan. Going from the launch of that MMO straight into actual good development and good releases immediately. And flowing. And by the way, not just with MMOs, but games as services. Look at like Halo Infinite, right? And Halo Studios' attempt to like, okay, so we're going to release it, but we're going to hold Infection off so that people stay interested, and we're going to put Infection in about a year after, and we think that will work. But then the community rebels because Infection was supposed to be there day one, and you know, there's a lot to figure out there, and that's really why Arenanet fucked up with Guild Wars 2. That's why the actual world killer fell from grace. That's why other MMOs ended up doing better, because Arenanet never really found their feet, and they got very experimental with the Living World. These are the reasons that they fucked up. Not that they didn't have a sub fee. It's a bit rich to bend over now and say, oh, we need a sub fee to be able to keep up. Do we? Do we need a sub fee? Or do we just need good writing? Why is Final Fantasy XIV so good, right? At least through to the end of Endwalker. Why? If you guys have seen my playthrough of that, it's over on WoodenPotatoes too. Why was that so fucking good? It's just because it was a really expertly made, well fucking made game. Yeah, maybe the funding was there. But blow for blow, as I did that Let's Play, I compared, you know, what did Arenanet do? What did Squeenix do? What did Arenanet do? What did Squeenix do? And it was only really when we got to the chaos at the end of Season 4 that there was a big divergence. Otherwise, they were going beat for beat. There was a big update in one game. There was a big update in the other game. There was a big update in one game. There was a big update in the other game. There was an expansion for one game. There was an expansion for the other game. They were pretty much on par with one another. Except that Squeenix was taking in the subscription fee and Arenanet wasn't. It just so happens that the actual products, how the skill system worked out, how the raiding worked out, how the storylines went, how the cutscenes went and everything, they ended up being so much better in 14 than Guild Wars 2 ever got to. It was just, the art was better. The art won. And I really do, I do stand by that. So again, there you go. There's another argument for maybe why we don't need a sub fee. I feel like I've explored this enough now. There you have it. There's us playing with Devonna. Did we level her up? No. The idea of deleting a comment in the age of streaming was insane. Wait, what? What am I missing here? So Cube says, WP, Guild Wars 2 was never a WoW killer. I think that was quite clear after the first 3 months or so. But I really, really do believe they had a chance. They had every chance. Did I finish the 14 LP? Well, no, what I did was I made a more formal LP where we went back to ARR, and now we're going to play back through to Endwalker, and we will do it. So, no, is the answer to that. Long answer, no. Short answer, no. The True King. I recently received word from Devonna that a Char Ranger has been sighted south of the wall. Thom and I will begin scouring the countryside for this creature. In the meantime, I need someone to go into Regent Valley to Fort Rannoch and deliver a message warning Lord Darren he must begin his own search for the Charfiend. Right, let's go to post. Let's play the new dungeon, shall we? Or should I just put an end to this? And we'll say this wasn't actually a part of the LP. I think it's smarter to say this wasn't a part of the LP. You're so ready for the Shadowbringers playthrough in 2040. Well, I already have a Shadowbringers LP. We beat Shadowbringers. And I heard about the mysterious Venar. Ooh. Who I think has a very big role in Endwalker. But no spoilers, please. I don't actually know who Venar is, really. Evercold is so WP coded. Oh, that's the thing after Dawn Trail, isn't it? Yeah, we finished Shadowbringers and all the patches. That's true. Sorry, I'm trying to read chat to see if anyone made some good points and I ignored them. So Coril says, if you want a larger MMO, you're going to have to ditch some principles to squeeze your bottom line. And I frankly don't care about Guild Wars 2 not being a heavy hitter. I care. I care, not just because, like, the better Guild Wars does, the better my viewership does, blah, 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 blah. Not that. Shall we play Peter Redhill for this? Come on, guys. So where do I go for this new quest? Fuck it, I want to play it. I'm guessing it's Pyken in post, which is where we are here. Is it Vigo? Vigo? I don't care about it on those grounds. I care about it just because I love this franchise and I want more people to know about and talk about it. I don't want to see a Guild Wars trailer come up at the Game Awards and think, oh, this is weird. This is going to remind people that Guild Wars exists. I don't want to see a Guild Wars trailer come up at the Game Awards and look in the live chat and people say shit like, PS2 graphics? That game still exists? Dead game, lol. What the fuck is this? Huh? All of which are quotes that are, you know, obviously, if a chat's moving fast enough, you'll see everything under the sun. I don't want that. I don't want that. Alright, that fucking sucks. I want people to be like, yeah, that's one of the big MMOs. It's got a slightly different take about things, but it's a good quality game. Give it a shot. That's what I want people to think. Yeah, exactly. I don't want them to get on stage and bleed their hearts. Look at this amazing thing we've got. Heart of Thorns. Look at the Druids. And look, we have raids. And we have the mastery system and elite specializations. And you're going to be able to glide. And look at this cool fucking thing. And look at this weird creature. Is it Masar? Oh, no, it's going to be exalted, but whatever. Oh, look at this concept art. Oh, my God. And I don't want to see them passionately talk about their product for 40 minutes and then wade into the crowd to find that the stand isn't full. It's a spattering of pasty, overweight, nerdy losers, and they pick the pastiest fucking one with his scraggly little beard, and they say, hey, what do you think?
Content that doesn't endgame content that doesn't suck.
I don't want that shit. And then they pull the mic away and go, oh, let's move on. I don't want that shit. Have you seen what the 14 fan fests are like? Do you know what it's like to have actual fanatic, fun, decent people? Do you know why we get that? And FF14 gets that? It's because of the sub fee. Alright, maybe that's a leap. I still love that moment, by the way. I fucking adore. That's so funny. Do you know the best thing? I talked about it, if you remember it years ago. You can go watch that. YouTube that, and you'll see what I'm talking about. There's a hilarious guy in the crowd in the background who pulls like the best face. He does like an oh shit face. It's so funny. Don't rewatch that moment. Rewatch that clip, but don't look at the dickhead. Look at the guy in the back who hears it happening real time, and he's sitting there and he goes, oh shit, basically. It's hilarious. I fucking love that guy. And do you know what that means? Ever since then, you don't see Arenanet wading into the crowd anymore. You don't see them taking the mic out to the nerds. No way, it's not worth the risk. Do you know what I also want? There's a PvPer dead inside me somewhere. He's truly been decapitated, and he's had all of his limbs chopped off, and he's been buried in different continents of the world. Right? He's truly dead and buried, and you know he's been taken out back. But that little PvPer somewhere deep inside me, he's also sad that when they did PvP tournaments, and you know they rented out like rooms for people to go see it live, that no one would fucking go and watch. You know, only like a fifth of the stands had any players in there, and they had to hide and crop out the fact that no one was actually going to see these things. That makes me sad. It makes me sad that there's no money. It makes me sad that there's not enough people to support a matchmaking system, right? Or a real tournament scene. And that if you want to engage in those things, you have a very, very small slice of people that you can engage with, and they're all at varying shades of wanker, right? It sucks. You need a big community to have nice people, well-rounded people who are also fanatics, right? It's very, very hard to have that magic mix, like myself. Yeah, we're circling around that, aren't we? Oh, so in pre we can go through this gate. It's very hard to get that. You need a lot of people. So yeah, I am upset that Guild Wars isn't bigger. For a lot of reasons, I'm upset that it's not bigger. For funding, for my own selfish purposes, but also just, you know, it's nice to have a big scene. You should want it to be bigger too. Guild Wars 1 used to fly people out for games. Yeah, exactly. The big PvP events for Guild Wars 1. Jesus, they have documentaries on that shit. Lila Baby Beefalo says Guild Wars Mistbound standalone PvP game announced. Yeah, I don't know whether this looks like a PvP game to me. I could see it as a world versus world game. And I'll tell you, I mentioned it in the commentary, but it's those forts on the back. Doesn't that just feel very... I don't know. I knew immediately not to focus on this too much. Like, I've had people saying, wow, your video is only 17 minutes. What happened, bro? Why don't you do a longer one? And it's like, well, what is there to say? I'm not going to fucking... What is there to say? What do you want me to do? Attach a lore discussion about ore in there? It's not worth it, man. I've done it a million times before. And what, you want me to talk about that? Well, I've never actually done that. I know it's a meme that I talk about. I only actually talk when there's something meaningful to say. There's not anything meaningful to pick at with this art style. And I'll tell you what made me especially realize that that's true. That if you go look at their Twitter teaser, you can see half of this shit is animated, or that the hero is looking at a tower with a thing on it, and it's like not in my edition, but it is on the other. You know, they're just different layers. Like, don't look too closely at it. There's no reason to look too closely. But nonetheless, if we are going to do that, I don't know, they look like forts or something back there. It tends to be, you get the long-form discussion in this, where it's a bit more casual. I can back and forth off the live chat. It's much easier doing it this way. You're hoping for a double announcement, EOTN-esque expansion that bridges the gap between Project X. Ah, now I think you're onto something there, Courier LK. I think you're actually very much onto something there. And yeah, that's a good point. That's something we haven't really talked about at all. I think there is a good chance for that. That they'll reveal 2 in 1. If you look at Guild Wars 2's original announcement in PC Gamer, that was also a 2 in 1, right? Eye of the North and Guild Wars 2. WP, here's an interesting thing from Racket Dude. WP, Guild Wars is the only MMO, aside from RuneScape, that is not based on an existing IP. That is a major weakness for Arenanet. Well, there's 2 things to discuss there. One, is that true? So sorry, is your argument to say all the MMOs that make it are attached to big IPs? So 14 is a part of the Final Fantasy franchise. World of Warcraft, or obviously already had Warcraft before it. Doesn't it end there? The Elder Scrolls Online has it. I don't know how ESO matches up with Guild Wars at this point, by the way, and that's an interesting. And what are you saying? You're saying that other big MMOs that come out die, so to speak, because they're not based in existing franchises? But then we go back to what we were talking about in the yesterday's video. What does it mean to die? I mean, I think a lot of those things, you stop playing them and you think they're dead, but they're not really. And Guild Wars is already in that category for a great many people. Not those of us who are at this stream right now, but... So I don't know what that really means. Also, so then the other half... So you think about this, right? When did Warcraft come out? The first Warcraft? When did it come out? 91, was it? 92, 93, something like that? And WoW came out, what, 10 years later? Let's say Warcraft 1 was 94 and WoW was 05 or 04. That might seem like a long running franchise or whatever. It's not really. In the big picture, Guild Wars is 20 years old. It's had 20 years for people to at least have heard about it once or twice, to know that it's existed. You don't think that counts for something? The only one that's like really got a long lead in is Lord of the Rings Online, right? If you look at the Elder Scrolls, yeah, Arena was pretty old. I don't know though. I don't know whether I buy that argument. I think there's a lot of weight behind Guild Wars and this franchise and this IP. I think they've built it. I think they've earned it by being a persistent studio for all these years. Now, a lot of that might have been catering to overweight, pasty nerds that talk about how the end game's not good enough, but still. By the way, can I just be clear? I don't even particularly remember what that guy looks like, and I'm not trying to be individually insulting. I genuinely can't remember. I remember what the guy behind him looked like. So I don't know whether I really buy that argument. Guild Wars 2 got more attention when WoW ripped off flying mounts. WoW has a movie, Fallout has a TV show, Lord of the Rings has the book tie-in. Yeah, just the book, not the films. Yeah, I don't know. You remember? He's exactly what I think. Well, I'm trying to not be offensive. I don't want to. I was trying to be hypothetical. Do you think Arenanet would be ballsy enough to do a 14 kind of reset and a Guild Wars 3 would be a chance to course correct or syncing? I do think they could do that, yeah. But I don't view it as a reset. I think the Vlox, the story of Vlox, I think he's going to break the timeline, and I think the broken timeline will be this one game. This is Vlox's universe, basically. That's the world that Vlox made. That's not the year 0. That's just a world where the gods never came from the mists. Because what Vlox is going to do, here's the going idea. Vlox is going to he's going to remake an edition of the mist and the rift and everything. Whatever this thing is that causes mist travelers, demons like the Cryptis and stuff to be interested in Tyria, Vlox is going to shut that loophole. Vlox is going to say, I'm going to save Tyria by completely changing it. There's not going to be any dragons. There's not going to be any magical imbalance. There's not going to be any need for a veil. There's not going to be any need for the World Spire. Nothing is going to visit Tyria from the mists. Nothing. Well, that doesn't work, because then why are humans there? And why is Ore there? Alright, that doesn't work. That theory's shit. Scrap that. Cut that. That doesn't work. But the general principle, I think, is correct. That Vlox is going to change things such that the human gods never leave, maybe? The Exodus doesn't happen? The Bloodstone is never split back open? I don't know. Something like that. Somewhere back. And I think they're going to have two... So you're going to have a totally... You're going to have the Tyrian setting with the Norn and the Asura. Probably not the Sylvari, but maybe they'll be on the table for later, right? You're going to have a lot of the iconic races, but the geopolitics are going to be completely different. So they get to bank. Oh, you love the Char? You want to play the Char? You can still play them. They're just kind of a different flavor. And in this way, Guild Wars 2 can keep going down its road and do its thing. And this game can go down its road and do its thing. That's what I think it is. And I think the announcement's lining up very clearly so that it will all work out. I think the patch 3, the end of VOE, is going to lead into this game, which I think Vlox is going to succeed, so to speak. But then we're gonna have our Flash Sideways, and the next mini X-Pack is going to get announced as well, and it's going to be like, wait, what? And both communities will be catered to in that way. Like, if I think about this from just the business perspective, in terms of franchise recognition and stuff like that, what Arenanet needs is they need to be able to render a badass-looking Norn and Char and stuff like that in Unreal Engine, but they also want to get the setting to a fun place that's not backed down by all this shit that's happened with the mishandling of the Dragon Saga and all that. So, and they want to do a prequel, they want to go set it in the actual Guild Wars. This is the ultimate, have your cake, eat it too, and don't get fat from eating the cake. This is all the benefits, none of the downsides. That's what they're working for. That's what Vlox is. Vlox is going to rewrite everything. If their game directors, their bigwigs, their greatest minds have landed on that as a plan, I think is brilliant. It's A-star. Exactly. Vlox splits the timeline and creates a parallel reality, and each game isn't each one. Exactly. No Elder Dragons means Queen Jenna is the biggest villain in Guild Wars 3. Well, again, I think it will both be an alternate timeline, and I also think it will be Ore when it was fine. But look, if you're going to do the alternate timeline thing, it could also be the same year, right? It's just that because there was no Zaitan, there was no Cataclysm. Assuming that the scroll that Kilbron read was somehow applied to that, blah, 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 which we don't know, but whatever. So that is a pristine, or shining white ore because it's because that's just ore. The Orions never went away; they're just there. And there'll be 3 great cities in this new one. There'll be Divinity's Reach, but I mean, Divinity's Reach might not be there. It might be Lion's Arch again because the flooding never happened. It'll be really fascinating, guys. And so in the actual lore, you've got the Guild Wars. There were like 2 major waves of Guild Wars. It would be the 3rd Guild Wars, the 3rd wave of Guild Wars for Guild Wars 3, right? So they could even do it that way. I'm actually falling in love with that idea as I say it out loud. I think that could be very good too. Yeah, fuck it. I think that's the best way to do it. I think he splits it, the timeline, and we don't go back in time. It's the same year. It's just there were no dragons or demons, something like that. And the big change is that ore never got fucked over. So therefore, and the Char never got the Cauldron of Cataclysm, right? So what does that mean? Ascalon stays strong, ore stays strong, Crater stays strong, the White Mantle never take hold. You've got the 3 major human nations. So they're still wrestling for power, and guild wars can continue to happen. What else happens in this timeline? The dwarves never turn to stone because there is no Great Destroyer. It's been 250 years, and the Char are attacking the wall again or something. I don't know. Maybe that's a bit too similar to Guild Wars 1. The Norn are around doing their thing. The dwarfs are in their civil war. That could totally still be a thing. There's nothing wrong with that. The Asura are still underground. You have the Asura underground. And, you know, it leads them on into some good stuff. You know, what did Guild Wars 2 fuck up for all these years? It couldn't really do new playable races as a part of expansions. Well, Guild Wars 3 can say, yeah, we can do that. So we won't have the Asura in the launch story, but they'll be in the first expansion. We'll do a depths expansion, the first expansion. And we'll unlock a new playable race. They can reset so many things. They can go back to the drawing board. All the overhead and stuff they fucked up with elite specs and mounts and all this stuff. They can commit long term. I don't know. It depends if that's what they prioritize and if you trust them and that's how they think about things. But if they have learned from the 10 years of Guild Wars 2, then they can do things right again, you know? They can rewrite the code. Full-size Jotun and Giganticus Lupicus? Well, they might still be gone. Yeah, no Silvari because of no need for the Pale Tree, or they could be around, you know? But then there's the question of the whole Morgemoth side of that, obviously. That's like the baseline thing. Yeah, good point there. The Artesian waters aren't necessarily dragon magic. It was the magic that drew the gods there, though. Yep. I really hope they take forward the joy of traversal that Guild Wars 2 gives, though. Yeah, that one's a double-edged sword, but yeah. WP, didn't ore become more powerful because they leached off of dragon magic beneath it? There have been suggestions that that might have been what was going on. But, you know, how much was boons from the gods and so on? I believe in a setting where the gods still came here and ore still got built, but things changed, I don't know, at some point. I don't know, we'll see what they do. Right, guys, that's an hour and a half more of discussion. I'm feeling really awkward about the fact that we were supposed to be playing Guild Wars 1 and we're not. So, look, I'm going to stop it here. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you tomorrow for an actual episode of the LP. We will do the post-searing dungeon. I'm really sorry to everyone who was interested in that. I'm going to change the thumbnail. I'm going to change the title. I'm going to change everything and just make it further discussion about this. I should have been... You know, it was pretty stupid for me to think that this wasn't going to be entirely about this the entire time. Before I sign off here, does anyone in chat have any big burning questions or big topics they want to bounce off of me here? You might be able to provoke another rant out of me. If there's not, then yeah, I think I'll leave it and we'll, you know, we'll open the floor to the YouTube comments. I'll go get a bunch of screenshots from you guys on the walls of text there. The teaser video does have one of the arches dilapidated halfway into the water. That's been calcified and overgrown. That's true, yeah. So there are ideas that it could be a rebuilt, or I don't know. I'm not a big believer in the rebuilt ore. By the way, one of the part of that trailer, that little teaser, has these aqueducts, which are very Ascalon to me. Well, that's not the aqueduct, is it? Let's go to the aqueduct. Ascalon was big for the aqueducts, and you can kind of see that going on in the art as well. I love the new enter mission button. Will I do Heaven's Ward on Tremor? I can't remember, to be perfectly honest with you, what my plan is there. I think my plan was to swap back to Macon, wasn't it? For Heaven's Ward. Wasn't I going to juggle Tremor and Macon? Are we so convinced that it's ore? There's no discussion of the far-flung pieces of the world, like Olympus across the supercontinent? I mean, yeah, Muffin, it could be that. It could totally be another area. It could be Stellus Quor, one of the other seer cities. Or a Parvim, one of the Masat cities that we haven't seen. It could be any number of those things. You're absolutely right to wonder that. I just thought all because of the big arches. Is that how you pronounce his name? It is! Wait. Oh, shit. Or is it Mei Chin? Oh my god, I've forgotten now. Which side is it? Mei Chin or Mei Kun? If Lox is as dangerous as they make him out to be, how could he pass the trials to begin with, which were designed to prevent this exact thing happening? No? Giving power to the untrustworthy? Yeah, that's a great speculation about the current VOE stuff, exactly, yeah. I mean, if he earned Ascension, then he earned it. Who's his Garen to tell us that he's going to do something bad? If he passed it, he passed it. It's just that he's a renegade, right? He's on his own. We must save the Rangers. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. It feels good to be actually playing, and I wasn't fucking playing the game. Yeah, let's get a bit of that AoE going. Yeah, Dragon Slash. I didn't even have full Great Justice on. Dragon Slash. No. What if it's Utopia? I'm not a big Utopia. I don't care that much about Utopia. Maybe. I just feel like move on from it. So much of it has already been reconstituted into other stuff and discussed in other ways and repackaged. If I were 2 weeks, I wouldn't want to be tied to that. Probably. I'd want to do my own thing. Probably. All these Firestorm ticks doing 1 damage because of my mega armor. All we need is 1 damage reduction and they'd all be zeros. I'd be invulnerable. Why aren't the gods going to intervene? Can't some mist entities do something if all eyes are on Tyria right now? Yeah, that's a good point. And there's lots of places they could go. It could be the Garden of the Gods as well. You'd be happy if you never have to hear about Guild Wars Utopia again. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, blue dye. Guild Wars Gacha. I don't think they'll do a full-blown gacha. I think if some kind of season pass, optional sub, VIP thing is on the cards. I don't think going full-blown gacha is going to be a thing. But hey guys, would you accept a gacha if it meant more funding for GW1 and 2? Would you accept that? The gods gave up on Tyria. It's debatable that they did. What they said they did was they said we were strong enough to defend it for ourselves, and they gave it to us. Now that could have been a lie on their part. WP cab us. You guys want to see the taxi cab right before I turn the stream off? Really? Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, we don't have it queued up anyway. I don't know what... There's a question as well of, okay, what would you pay for your optional sub? What would you pay for that? And what would you want from it? If it was like FF Ever Crisis, you would accept? You trust Arenanet today with ore? Or would this be like your vote against the Abaddon Fractal? Is it too big? Great question, Next Row. Great question. I do trust them on the grounds that it's a fully funded reset point. So if it's Unreal Engine, I think it could look stellar and be really exciting and captivating and wondrous and magical, right? There was no way that they were going to release that fractal on a new game engine, right? And the thing with the Abaddon fractal was it was a fractal. We knew what the scope was. We knew that it was going to be something you would beat in 20 minutes tops. And we knew that it was something that was going to be couched within the game as something you're farming and doing over and over and over again. And anything that's couched like that loses all its magic. And I didn't like that idea of it losing its magic, right? And then more broadly speaking, if you had a time machine, right, just before Heart of Thorns, and you said to WP, you said, hey, WP, you didn't like the Abaddon Fractal idea because you didn't think they could do it in Living World. But they're making Heart of Thorns now. What if it's a part of the Heart of Thorns story? If you had gone in a time machine and you had said that to WP back then, he would have said, yeah, I'm really excited about that. Why? Because, again, it was like, oh, this is an expansion. We don't know what scope that will have. That could be really big. That could be massive. They could have all the space and time in the world for that. They could do the story justice. I would have been excited. It's only after Heart of Thorns then released, and it was like, oh, what? Heart of Thorns is not, like, very big scope. It was only 4 maps. It wasn't like Nightfall. It was small. It wasn't... And the story ran out halfway. It was only then that they started to develop a track record of, oh, they're not actually capable of doing it anymore. They're not capable of hitting those high story bars that I want them to, right? And then if you'd asked after POF, I would have been a little bit less interested. And then after Dragonstorm, no, it's completely dead to me. Under no world can they ever do it. I don't want to see it in a mini X pack. I don't want to see it I don't want to see it in a Living World patch. I don't want to see it in a Fractal. I don't want to see it in a raid. They cannot do it. Right, so I'm not excited about it in the context of Guild Wars 2 anymore because I just... You know, it's 14 years of playing the same game. No matter, you know, I get what the gameplay's like. I get what the game, you know, the questing is like. I get what the visuals are like. I get where they're repurposing assets. Playing Guild Wars 2 to me these days is just kind of an exercise in... Did they spend money on some new enemies? Did they spend money on some new environments to explore? And by the way, I kind of did a disservice to the recent VOE patch. Kerry, I played it with last night, and they had some nice little details in there that I'm looking forward to going back and showing off to you guys. Like, there's waters coming out of vents that are getting drained into trees, and they look really cool. That's kind of what Guild Wars 2 is now for me. It's not the same as a full new game on a full new engine that's had a lot of money spent on it and a huge team of passionate devs. So yes, I would buy, or I am an optimist, genuinely, and that's got me a lot of criticism over the years, as, oh, this guy's just a fanboy, he doesn't get it. There's a lot of fucking smarmy people out there who won't be watching this video right now because they're just the game's dead to them, right? The game is not dead to me. The studio is not dead to me, and I think if they're going to do a complete reset, an Unreal Engine new game, yeah, fuck it, go do more. My default position is to be excited and trust that they'll give it their best shot and they'll do something well. I do ultimately have fun with this game, right? This is a cool black Wind Rider. I like that. We should see some black ones in Guild Wars 2. So yeah, give me ore. Give me ore in a new engine. Fuck it. That's one of the most exciting things they can do. Let's see it. Will there be a WP Easter egg in Guild Wars 2? Who knows? Arenanet have given Easter egg always in both games. They've given Easter eggs to everyone. If you're anyone of any level of note, you tend to get a little something here or there. So maybe. Not that I don't like it or don't appreciate it. I was so happy when I got the Maguma Bell. That was awesome. That was really cool. God, I feel like I sound so ungrateful about some shit. Arenanet make genuinely new interesting MMOs every time they make an MMO. That's true as well. Like for 2010 at least. 2008, 9, 10, 11, they were the real risk takers. Hell, even 2012 they continued to be risk takers. And it ended up biting them in the arse with the Living World Season 1 risks. But, you know, and they'll have my eternal respect for that. I mean, that's actual art. That's not, let's see if we can make money from an MMO. That's no, we're gamers, we like gaming, and we want to see what's wrong with this franchise. Sorry, this genre. And there's a lot to talk about with that now as well, isn't there? A new series of blog posts tackling what's wrong with MMOs today. The Echoes, the blog post they did tackling what was wrong with MMOs back in 2010. Wouldn't that be amazing? I'd love to see them do that. Guild Wars 1 actually looks decent, at least your character model. Is that just standard Guild Wars 1 now? I think character models got an update. Not in the way that you'd think. Very slight shader changes, like the ambient occlusion. But yeah, it's pretty good, right? I think the reason it looks good is because I'm playing solo and super zoomed in. If I was scrolled out like this with a ton of players, you wouldn't really get to enjoy it. That's another thing I'd like to see from a new game, by the way. Get the camera in close again. Robin the Hood, oh, thank you for the donation. $9. Hey, WP, I'm a bit late. Based off the one piece of artwork we've seen, do you think Guild Wars 3 will take place during the third Guild War, or perhaps earlier? Exactly. We just said that exact thing. I think there's a good chance, yeah. And largely because of the raise your banners thing. I mean, Christ, what do you guys think raise your banner means if it's not an explicit reference to the Guild Wars? Modernized Guild Wars 1 or extended Guild Wars 2? That's the question, isn't it? I don't know what my answer to that is right now. I don't know what my answer is to that. I would love them both in different ways. On balance, I don't know which one I'd prefer. I have no idea what my answer to that is. I'm curious. I'll poll that. Yeah, I'm going to do one more poll. I wonder whether the people watching right now are biased towards Guild Wars 1. Because we're streaming Guild Wars 1 right now. What design philosophy would you like to see, guys? Where would you like to see them lean? GW1 or GW2? In structure and... I wonder. It could be because I'm playing zoomed in. You recall it looking much worse, but you're saying, yeah, it's the zoomed in. On all my Let's Plays, I made sure I played frontline characters and tried to zoom in as much as possible just so it felt like a better game than it really is. Modernize how? Well, that can be in your own mind. Whatever you think that means. That doesn't really matter, does it? The point is, do they go limited skill system where everything's flexible, MTG oriented or whatever? Or do they go more action combat, dodge rolls? Do they have dedicated healers from the start like Guild Wars 1, or do they try to shake the Trinity up in a weird way like Guild Wars 2? Do they do specializations or just basic attribute lines? You know, which game do you want them to lean on more? I can tell you I'll probably end up doing a dedicated video on this topic because I would obviously mix and match. For example, world exploration, the portrayal of the world map, waypointing, outposts, shit like that. I way prefer Guild Wars 1. Guild Wars 1 is far more immersive. And I would love them to go back to that. But obviously there's a lot of the presentation of Guild Wars 2 that's way better. Kill those Uladites. You love both games, modernized Guild Wars 1. Well, and then there's another choice. Neither. You can happily say neither. You can say no, we're going to attack something else. Look, if Arenanet are planning to follow GW1 forever and follow GW2 forever, then neither. It can be neither. You don't have to dig through the box of GW1 and reconstitute things, right? Because you have 2 weeks. And you don't have to go through Guild Wars 2 because you have the guys making Guild Wars 2 right now. Right? You can do your own take. And that also is why I'm leaning on the thought that this is not a full-blown MMO. This is a world PvP game. Combat like 2, classes like 1. See, that's interesting. I wonder what you bundle in each hemisphere of design there. You'd be most happy if they bundle it, if they made an entirely new IP. Yeah, I think this imagery suggests to me they won't do that. And I think that's too much of a business risk for them, I'm afraid. I think there was a window where they could do a new IP, and it was in 2012-13. I think they could have created a sci-fi IP based on all the gameplay principles and engine work of Guild Wars 2. But they didn't do it. I don't know whether that... My big headcanon theory of that is, and I don't know whether this is true, but my big theory with that is that NCSoft saw what they were doing and said, no, please stop, because we want to do WildStar. And then WildStar came out and shut the bed in its own way and then got shut down, and then Arenanet were left with shit on their hands. That's honestly what I think happened. I have no evidence for that. It's just how it feels. Guild Wars 1 just needs more content and some changes to presentation. Guild Wars 2 just has so many pain points. I kind of agree with you fully there, Disc Rights. If they keep doing these skill balance updates, if they actually start adding a couple of new skills, Guild Wars 1 has a lot to give. A lot to give, and you're exactly right. Just a couple of presentation improvements and tweaks, right? Basically just make it look a bit shinier and fancier. In the same way that Eye of the North looks a lot shinier and fancier than Prophecies does. right? If they did a new campaign, believe me, they could do very well with it. This game has a lot to give. They could make money. I would spend 40 to 50 pounds on a new Guild Wars 1 campaign on a box. I would happily do that, and I wouldn't blink at it. As long as it is of similar scope, at the very least, to factions, which admittedly was quite short and isn't really fully at the bar for me. But as long as they get that bar, and I don't even need new profession. I don't need 2 new professions. I don't even need 1 new profession. I would still pay 40 to 50 quid for it. I would do that. So Guild Wars 3 doesn't have to mimic any of this or try to appeal to nostalgia with this. Just let this be this and develop this. Just as WoW has WoW Classic and Jagex has old school RuneScape. Just develop it. And I feel very strongly about that. I'm a little bit nervous about both Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2 at the moment in the light of this sudden concept art. It's like, fuck, please don't drop the ball. Please don't drop all those other things. Please, you got something going here. Oh, is there anything more frustrating than hitting them and they have that last sliver of health? So you have to do a whole other animation to get it. Really, I want like some kind of quick interrupt here. The headline of a new campaign for GW1 would be incredible for the press and for the eyes of the game. Well, talking about the idea that they might do a dual, it might be a dual announcement, right? They could do a double release, a double announcement. That's so funny. I just hit Fear Me and fully expected him to run away, but he didn't. What about Guild Wars 2 Classic? I think that's dead because they don't have the files. They literally don't have what they need for that. It's a bit like I've been begging them for years to release the alphas. I would fucking love to play the alphas, you know, with like the energy potions and stuff. Also, I don't really know what Guild Wars 2 Classic... This is such a different topic, but I don't know whether Guild Wars 2 Classic really actually has anything to offer the world. RuneScape had a lot of grind to offer people in its classic form. And WoW had a lot of grind to offer people in its classic form. Guild Wars 2 did not. Guild Wars 2's biggest criticism was for having no content. It's not that it had no content. It's that you could get through the content really fast because of their anti-grind philosophy. And it meant that there were just a couple of thin, quick, easy-to-beat dungeons that gave you way too many tokens, and then it was over, right? I don't think that Guild Wars 2 Classic actually works. Because people would go and play it, and they'd be like, okay, I played it for like a week, and now I don't have anything to do. And that would be it. And what's the benefit? You're just playing without mounts around, right? And the MTX, which can be accomplished through a season system instead. So I'm not actually an advocate for a Guild Wars 2 Classic. I don't believe in it. You'd have a slightly different trait system, and you know there'd be some novelty. Don't get me wrong, but it would be a novelty that would wear off. It would be a novelty I'd be thrilled by, but it would wear off, and just fundamentally, the Arenanet were too nice with that game. Way too fucking nice. Way too Zoomer coded, and people would just stop playing it. Day one, there were level 80s complaining of no end game. I don't think that's quite true. I think there was a level 80. Day one, it was a French guy who had his entire guild funnel him items and money so he could get it via crafting. But that was it. But nonetheless, people... You got to remember, by the way, there were legendaries to go for, but people were furious that legendaries were the only thing to go for. And dungeons didn't hit their mark and stuff. Yeah, really, I don't believe in classic Guild Wars 2. And then what? You say, well, okay, just do it with Season 1. Ugh. Yeah, because that was a bright, shining spot as well, wasn't it? You see what I mean? I'm much more interested in a Guild Wars 3 that tackles the idea of a personal story again. A real personal story again. But maybe they've just decided, no, we're never doing that. I would equally respect that. It all depends what their blog posts say. Please do the good... Arenanet, if you're out there, please do the blog post series again. Go reread your old ones as well before you write them. Go reread the old ones. They're all on Wiki. Or wait for my video series. I will re-inform you of everything you said. Because I'm going to do a video series on it. 100%. Probably after this announcement on the 5th. Which kind of cuts into Milan Doom. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't know what we're even going to see. Right, guys, I'm hungry. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you. There's obviously a shit ton to talk about. Drop YouTube comments. Drop me your walls of text. And I will I'll kick up a couple of Q&As. I promise next episode of this will be a real episode of this. We'll talk about Devonna and Pri and all that. Consider this Guild Wars 1 stuff just background footage for, you know, the big new announcement. Drop your YouTube comments. We'll do some Q&A back and forth. And we'll continue with the series and the shows. And we'll see what their announcement is. I'm hungry just like I was yesterday. I ate like a child yesterday. I got a bowl of cereal. Like chocolate Wheaties or whatever it was. And it was all right, but then I felt sick, and today I had the runs. So I haven't eaten at all since. TMI? I don't know. That's for you guys to decide. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for the donations. See you next time.